In this next section, I want to touch on the job search strategy itself. For many of you, this may be the most important part of this entire presentation. How do you do a job search strategy to get you into a market where you don't have to just wait on what's advertised in the paper? So we know what's in the paper, which is the most common way that people look for new positions, just responding to ads in the Sunday paper. That represents about 13% of what's available. So how do you get to the other 87%? How do you find the jobs that are never listed? Now let me make a statement that can be very, very important, and I really want to highlight it. The major difference between successful and unsuccessful job hunters is not skill, education, age, or ability, but it's the way that person goes about their job search. I want to restate that because it's so important that you really hear and believe this particular statement. The major difference between successful and unsuccessful job hunters is not skill, education, age, or ability, but the way they go about their job search. Let's review how most people go about a job search. The number one process, the number one method is to respond to ads in the local newspaper. But what are the statistics of success here? We can track this pretty easily. This appears to actually get jobs for somewhere between 5 to 8 out of every 100 people who try it. And the higher the level of job that you're seeking, the less effective this method is. Let me give you a couple ideas as to why this is so ineffective. Number one is that it really is kind of after the fact. By the time something appears in the paper, everybody at that company knows about the position. They've told their neighbors, their aunts, their uncles, their cousins. So it's kind of like crumbs off the table in the position that wasn't filled through those normal methods, so they put an ad in the paper. Because of the time lag itself, frequently those positions are filled by the time it appears in the paper. However, that's not to say that they won't accept interviews, accept your resume, and actually schedule you to come in, because many times they do. A lot of times it looks better for a company to have interviewed, say, 10 people for a position when they've already made a decision about who's going to be hired before the interviewing process even started. You can see how frustrating that would be to go through an interview process in that way. Some of the other methods that people use, private employment agencies, well, the results aren't much better here. Somewhere between 4 and 8 out of 100 get jobs using that, depending on the level. Keep in mind, no one can present you as well as you can or cares about your situation as much as you do. To go to an outside agency usually is an indication that you want a magic solution for this process. You want somebody to look at your resume, call you on the telephone and say, hey, can you start work on Monday? Well, that doesn't happen. It would be unrealistic. That's not going to be a good position if that does happen. What you want to do is to be confident, bold, enthusiastic, and energetic about who you are, what you have to offer, and to present yourself in a way so you really do uncover the best positions. Also, as you identify what's unique about you and clarify exactly what it is you're looking for, you'll stay in the driver's seat about finding that right place for yourself. A placement agency has one goal, and that's to put you in a position they have available. They have no added incentive to see that it really is the best place for you. Other methods people use, such as answering ads in trade journals, mailing out resumes by the bushel, there's a variety of things that people do. It's not uncommon that we see somebody in our office who has sent out 1,000 resumes, oftentimes never generating an interview as a result of doing that. So I want to talk about targeting and focusing, which is so critical in this process. Because if you're just distributing resumes without doing anything in advance or anything following that, you might as well go up in a helicopter and just drop 1,000 or so of them all at once, hope someone picks one up and gives you a call. There has to be a consistent method for utilizing the resume simply as a part of the process for getting you the results that you want. Now, there are other methods that people use, and some of these are described in the book, What Color's Your Parachute? A wonderful book by Richard Bowles that deals with a lot of these issues. Applying directly to an employer without any homework, just walking in the door. For a lot of entry-level positions or medium positions actually works pretty well, just walking in. Now, that's not a method we represent or that we encourage you to use, but that is a method that does work pretty well, especially if you're in a big hurry. You can shorten the time frame by just getting out and walking in some doors, asking friends for job leads, asking relatives, keeping your ear to the grindstone. Those are things that certainly you want to consider, but not the focus and methods that really give the best results. What we're going to cover are some principles that tell you exactly how to do a job search. We know that most people in doing a job search contact 3 or 4 companies a month, and they're going to spend maybe 4 or 5 hours in a job search every week. That's not enough. What we're talking about here is a sales process. The product you're selling at this particular time is you, the individual. So you have to have a very focused, intense process of doing this well in order to get the results that you want. So here are the steps for the job search process. There are 4 steps to this. If you follow these carefully, you will be using a process that has gotten results hundreds and hundreds of times with people that we've worked with over the years. Number 1 is to identify 30 to 40 target companies. These are the questions you ask yourself. Do you want a company with 20 to 50 employees? Do you want a profit, nonprofit organization? Do you want a manufacturing, service company? Do you want something where you'll have a sales position or something where you'll have kind of an administrative position? Do you want a new company or an old established one? Do you want to travel or be home every evening? These are the kind of questions you can ask yourself to help identify companies you would consider reasonable targets. Now you'll notice there's nothing that I'm recommending that has to do with which companies are advertising, which companies have positions available. That really has very little to do with an effective job search strategy, and here's the reason. Things happen too quickly. We've already talked about the changes that are rampant. So you don't wait for somebody to promote a position. You assume that every company is looking for new people, which in fact is pretty true. So you take the initiative in simply identifying those companies that have the characteristics that you would like to work with, and you make those your targeted companies.